And back in the Cobb TV studios for our weekly chat with Cobb County Commission Chairman Mike Boyce, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Russ.
Well, there's a lot of things that are going on as we ramp up to a commission meeting next week following a period where we didn't have a commission meeting. But there's a big event this weekend that we've been working very hard on that honors Vietnam veterans.
Yes, the state, and I just cannot say enough good things about the Georgia Department of Veteran Services. It is amazing the talented staff that they have over there, what they do for the veterans here in Cobb County and in the state of Georgia. But Commissioner Burrell, a number of months ago, wanted to organize an event to recognize Vietnam veterans. And I think the state did a very wise thing this time. I know not everyone agrees with this, but they want to recognize everybody that was in the military during the Vietnam era, during the Vietnam War era. Because I know that, several hundred thousand, actually millions of young men and women went to Vietnam to serve in that country, but they were supported by an infrastructure back here in the States. There were people back here in the States that had to train them, that had to prepare, equipment for them so that they could do their job in Vietnam and in Southeast Asia. So the state has decided that they were going to recognize everybody from 1954 to 1975 that served in the military as being an overall part of the Vietnam War effort. So Commissioner Burrell has been working very closely with the staff and with the Georgia Department of Veteran Services to put together a program for Saturday. And I have to say, when I first heard about this, I thought, well, we'll probably get maybe 100 people because the state has been doing this now for well over a year, and I've been involved in a number of programs to honor these veterans. Well, to my utter surprise, over 700 people will be recognized on Saturday. 700 people that served in the military. And just think of the effort, the outreach that this involved to get 700 people to come to be recognized on Saturday with a certificate and a lapel pin. And I'm just really excited about being part of this program. Once again, my hat's off to the county staff that's going to do the logistics support and getting the chairs set up and getting the parking and all the other things that go into hosting an event of this size. But it's going to be a great Saturday afternoon, and I'm really excited about being there.
Yeah, I know Aqua in my staff took the lead in getting this prepared, and we were, like you said, preparing for maybe a couple of hundred.
Right.
And we were up, I think the last check, we're in excess of 735. And
wow.
What does that response say to you about the need and desire to have a recognition like this? Well,
first of all, it shows the number of people in Cobb County that are veterans, and that it doesn't matter when you served. We honor you for your time in service. And it shows that this is an ongoing commitment. This isn't a one-off where, okay, thanks for that, we move on. No. You were special to have served in the military during that time. And I just think it says a lot about the state and about the county that we want to take time out from our lives to show you our appreciation for what was a very controversial war, and that you stepped up to the plate and you showed your true colors as a patriot to serve in the military, and we could not be more grateful for that.
And for those who can't attend, we'll have some highlights of it on Cobb TV and our social media networks to check out after the Saturday recognition.
Well, you'll have plenty of material to use that day, I can assure you.
That's what it looks like. You mentioned you also spent some time, you talked to Congressman David Scott, you got some eye-opening information about the Community Development Block Grant Program and what it does in Cobb County.
Yeah, that's one of those acronyms that unless you're involved in it, you don't know what it means. But basically, it's a federal program that returns your tax dollars back to your local community. In this case here, it focuses on special needs that we might have. Like, for instance, some of the programs go to restoring homes. Some of the programs go to dealing with the homeless. Some of the programs go to dealing with emergency situations. So I met with Congressman Scott now over the last year a couple times, and he's very closely connected by his assignments on committees in Washington with the CDBG program. And he has brought over $21 million of your taxpayer money back home to Cobb County to deal with programs here in this. And as you look at the sheet that you'll see on your screen here, some of these programs are very familiar to you, like MUST Ministry or Center for Family Resources. But there's other ones on there that just go to show you that we are a very compassionate county, and we work very hard because we have to justify to the federal government that if you give us these funds, we're going to use them appropriately. And I think it's a reflection of the fact that we have done exactly that. If Congressman Scott is going to make, and his staff are going to do all this work to bring federal funds to here, we're going to use them diligently and correctly and appropriately to deal with a population of people that need your help, that need our help. So my hat's off to Congressman Scott and his effort and his staff, and we're going to be working really, really closely with them to show the people in Washington that if you provide us resources down here in Cobb County, we're going to use them like it's our own money, and we're going to give you a return on it.
I was surprised. I worked with that program to do an informational video on it. And, we had a community health center, for instance, that got some of that money.
Right.
But then on the other hand, a couple of elderly ladies living alone needed their homes repaired.
Sure.
They would not have been able to do it had not they heard about this program in church. So it encompasses a really wide range of projects.
It does, and it's one of those programs where it doesn't mean anything to you unless you need it. And then when it's there for you, it changes your life. So there's public service programs. There was some funding for an AID, our AIDS program here in the county. I know that's a medical issue that we think we pretty much got under control. But the bottom line is, it's a big country, a big county, and there's always people who are affected by certain conditions in the medical field. So certainly there's, as you get older, you're on limited resources. You need to have help, and I think this is a great example of our congressman who hears the needs of his people and works very hard to help us out here. And again, this is a reflection again on the staff of Kimberly Roberts over at our CDBG office and her people, and how hard they work to not only to work with the congressman to use these funds, but also to make sure they're appropriately used and there's no waste, fraud, and abuse involved in it.
Yeah. The ARC came out with a study this week that showed Metro Atlanta's population is booming. They attribute that to a lot of jobs moving into the area. Cobb County gained 8,000 residents between last year and this year. We're up above, I think, 750,000 now. And you said you've seen some stats or some figures that show how this area economically is doing.
All right. Well, I guess this is another good news story for Cobb County, along with the previous two stories about the Veteran War Commemoration Program and the CDBG program. I meet once a month with Sharon Mason, who's the CEO of the Cobb Chamber, and some of her staff, and as well as with Holly Quinlan, who is the executive director for Cobb Tourism and Travel. And the reason we get together on a monthly basis is to make sure that we're coordinating our efforts here with regard to economic development and tourism in Cobb County, which sometimes are commingled as to the same objective. And this month, Sharon and her staff has a really, really great story to tell about what's going on in Cobb County. And you're going to see that here on your screen. They had a very aggressive program for bringing more projects into Cobb County and bringing more jobs. They blew right by those numbers. If you look on this sheet right here, you'll see that every area of Cobb County is benefiting from the recovery of the economy in the United States of America and perhaps in the international arena. But more importantly, not only is this recovery bringing us more development in the figure of money, but look at the jobs that are associated with these projects. Now, I just want to be very clear here, these 57 projects are not all finalized yet, but nonetheless, you can see the interest of people wanting to come to Cobb County and work here and bring their families here. As we saw with our recent success, thanks to Governor Deal with the ThyssenKrupp elevator company coming to the Cumberland CID area, that is not a standalone example. It is across the county where people are bringing their businesses here, and when they bring their business, that means they bring their tax dollars to us, and they also bring investment in the county. The second thing I want to show you is on the second sheet. It isn't just a regional economic improvement. It is a national, Cobb is a national attraction, international attraction to businesses here. Look at the number of flags and international organizations that are on this sheet that tell you that we are truly one of the crossroads of America for international investment in this country. And again, I think that reflects the overall story we have to tell about Cobb County. Not only do you expect the best, but you get the best. But as I've been saying over and over again, Cobb is a place where you can safely work, live, play, and pursue your dreams. And that story is clearly being told and being heard throughout the world. And I see nothing but great days ahead of us.
And this was something that we dealt with a lot during the last year. When you deal with a success story like that, that comes with a situation with the county government where we have to boost up our services and our ability to serve.
That's
these
correct.
people.
That's correct. We have to deliver. You know, there's a certain level of a staff you have to have, and then when you go to another level, you got to bring more staff. All right. Well, the beauty is that for our economic development program, the fees that they derive from companies coming to work here, that's what sustains them. I mean, we have some funding out of our general fund to maintain economic development, but for the most part, they pay for themselves. And they pay for themselves because of the robustness of the economic revival that's going on in Cobb County. And with it come other challenges. You know, we just had our zoning hearing on Tuesday and another large development. And there's a balance there between how much more can you bring here, and yet have to also remember it in the back of our heads we have the traffic issues, all right? But you can't have one without the other. So my line is, I'd rather be sitting in line at a traffic light going to work, all right, than being able to go to somewhere because there's no traffic, because there's no jobs. But I can assure you that the board, you know, we're very sensitive to all these issues. We strike that balance, both with our zoning decisions and our land use map, which involves participation by the community. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great time to live in Cobb County, and everything that I'm showing you today shows you that this is the place where people want to spend their money or bring their money, both at the federal level and in the private investment world too.
And sometimes you have to get creative, and you had a hearing with Lisa Cupid, one of our commissioners, earlier this week. You talked about transit and a potential new way of looking at that using Uber and Lyft.
Sure, right.
And what kind of interest is there in that?
Well, it's a broad income. For one thing, there's no question about it that we have a heavily subsidized a transit system. We do. But again, I would argue that the transit system takes people to work. So they're going to work, they have jobs, and because they have jobs, they're going to reinvest in the economy, either by buying houses or buying things out in town, and they're going to return that subsidy we pay into the transit system back in the form of taxes to us, and property taxes or SPLOST. But there's always you always have to look at your processes and your programs to make sure that you're doing everything the best way you possibly can. And we've always had some issues with some of our transit system that the cost per ridership is pretty high. So look, Uber and Lyft, they've been out there for a while. They're proven services. We have to find a way to see if that fits into our transit options. So for the last I'd say, for the better part of this year, Eric Meyer from our DOT staff has been going out and doing presentations to people. I believe he's done 13 this year, talking to people about what the transit looks like in Cobb County, and including the transit study that we are doing, that, as you know, as I talked about in an earlier segment, we're going to have the results from that study sometime in November. And it's part of our active effort, at least part of my administration, is to get out and engage the people, tell them what we're doing, tell them where we're trying to go, and ask for their feedback on our efforts. So I'm very optimistic that we're going to find something that's going to change how we provide services. But the bottom line is we're still committed to providing services in the transit sector.
Yeah. Well, I checked in with the clerk's office earlier. The Tuesday night Board of Commissioners meeting, the agenda is about 530 plus pages long, which could be a record. It
could be. It's 104 agenda items. That just goes to show you the nature of how busy things are in Cobb County. They cover the spectrum from DOT to public safety to parks. It's an exciting time to live in Cobb County. And I think Tuesday night's meeting, if you really want to get a sense of all the myriad responsibilities we have that your county staff does, and why I'm such a huge fan of this staff, tune in Tuesday night, or better yet, come to the meeting and watch your government in action.
Yeah, come to the meeting, bring a pillow maybe.
Or certainly bring a snack.
It could be a long one.
It could be a long one.
All right, and of course we'll have that on TV, Cobb TV, on our Facebook channel and our YouTube channel as well. Updates on the transit situation as we wind our way through that. The chairman's newsletter is available for your subscription, as well as the other commissioners. So visit us at cobbcounty.org and tune in to Cobb TV to see it all.
See you next week.
All righty.